Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday, the 18th of December. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So first of all, happy Wednesday. 1 week to go till Christmas. 1 week till a big day, and today's calendar chocolate is a chocolate present. I had this before, but they are starting to duplicate, so that's it. So, how is your day going? I hope it's going well. I'm recording this in the evening. And normally, if I get a late start on a Wednesday, I get up early and get it done, but today was kind of a middling start, but a really long day, so I had to do it at the end of the day. So it is dark here now, so I've had to, obviously the lighting is not natural, so I've had to mess around with it in order to stabilise the green screen, so I look a little bit washed out, but hopefully not too bad for you. So, as always, I've picked out 5 stories making the headlines I want to give my thoughts on. Links are in the description below so you can read each article in full and show those original publications some love. So let's get into it. Story number 1. And story number 1 is BBC News today. The top Vienna Ballet Academy encouraged pupils to smoke. So, yeah, this is a horrid story. So, children at Vienna State Opera's high-profile ballet academy were encouraged to smoke to control their weight, an investigation has found. A special commission is investigating claims that the academy endangered pupils' well-being, claiming that the young dancers have been exposed to harsh routines of training, practicing, and performing. Okay, there's a name here I'm going to butcher. I do apologise. Commission head Suzanne Reindl-Krauskopf said students were addressed by their first names and clothes sizes. It is clear that children and adolescents are not sufficiently protected from discrimination, neglect, and negative medical effects, the Commission's report stated. Yeah. It also said that training burden was poorly controlled and endangering their well-being. In response, Vienna State Opera said it had already cut the number of students' performances and would study the report, giving it a full response. The Academy, created in 1771, is one of Europe's most prestigious ballet schools. Many of its alumni dance for companies such as London's Royal Ballet and New York's American Ballet Theatre. The scandal hit the headlines in April when the Austrian newspaper Falter published an investigation which alleged that some young dancers were physically hit and scratched and others mocked for their physiques. Austria's culture minister Alexander Schallenberg has called for urgent action to resolve the issues. So, yeah, horrible story about bullying, and it's very much in the vein. If you've seen the movie Whiplash, it feels very much like how far, where's the line where you push somebody to try and get the best out of them? At what point is it just bullying? You know, at what point does encouragement become, you know, a few harsh truths to become basically bullying and belittling these students, you know, under the guise of we're toughening them up, we're getting them used to it, this is preparing them for the real world. No, you're not. You know, you've got children at a very early age, and your encouragement and the kind of way you're training them now, the morals you're setting down is that this is what you have to do to succeed. So if I want you to smoke, I'll tell you to smoke. If I'm going to insult your physique and your character to get the best out of you, this is just life. It's like, no, they are not the lessons we need to be teaching young people. That's not how it works. That is not how you get the best out of somebody. There's be a very small minority of people, and that will get the best out of them. They respond more stick than carrot. But that's not how it's done, and I bet these children's parents were not aware of it. Certainly not to this extent. Encouraging kids to smoke, ludicrous. Absolute madness, you should never do that. Insulting kids' weight, again, ridiculous. The fact that they refer to them by their first name and sort of body size is just horrendous. You know, and I understand ballet is an incredibly difficult discipline to master. There is a huge physical component, and carrying extra weight will hinder that. But you don't go this far the other way to encourage people to change. So, you know, if you want people to get the best out of them, you encourage them to be their best, and you guide them towards it, and you explain why things need to be the way they are. You do not berate kids. You know, you do not endanger their well-being, as it said. The training burden was poorly controlled and endangering their well-being. It's like, that's not how this is supposed to go. You know, students were addressed by their first names and clothes sizes. You know, so that's like, you know, calling somebody Hannah 18 or something. It's like, no, you don't do that. And I know there's always, if you see movies where it shows you ballet schools, it's kind of like if you look at Black Swan, if you look at the recent John Wick and that, this is kind of how it's portrayed. It's like, no, you suffer. Ballet is worth suffering for, and it's like, no, there's got to be a balance. All athletes suffer to a degree. Sprinters and hurdlers and powerlifters, they suffer with aches and pains and that from the training because it's a very physical thing. And ballet, yeah, there'll be an element of that as well. But encouraging people just to go past it and just this kind of behaviour is no. So, like it says, they're going to look at it and give a full response. It'll be interesting to see what the response is, because I think a lot of the response is going to be, this is how it was always done. It's like, well, yeah, times change. That's not how it's done anymore, and it's certainly not how it should be done anymore. So yeah, horrible story. Hopefully it gets resolved, and these kids have not been harmed too much that they can't come back from it and have good, full, emotionally balanced lives. So moving on, story number 2. Mail Online. 5 million Britons are predicted to quit booze next month as dry January gathers pace. Yep, so just in time for the new year, New Year's resolutions and all that, 1 in 10 Britons has pledged to ditch the booze next month, almost double the number 2 years ago. Around 5.2 million of us will attempt a dry January after our New Year celebrations as the nation becomes more and more health conscious, a survey of 2,000 people found. The YouGov and Alcohol Concern poll also found 1 in 5 adults feels pressured to drink more than they want to, usually by friends or colleagues. Dr. Richard Piper, CEO of Alcohol Change UK, said many of us will have had the experience of being encouraged to drink more than we really want to, and pushing others to do the same, particularly at times like Christmas. Even when it's not as explicit as pushing, little things like drinking in rounds can pile on the pressure for people to drink more. Okay, I agree with that. He added, being alcohol-free for 31 days shows us we don't need alcohol to have fun, to relax, to socialise, and dry January offers a ready-made response to anyone who tries to pressure us to drink. Yeah, so essentially what he's saying is, you can say, if people are going to have another one, it's like, no, I'm doing this dry January thing, and hopefully that will, curtail their pressure. Strong evidence tells us that signing up for dry January helps people, even heavy drinkers, to drink more healthily all year round. Over a third of youngsters said they drank because they made them feel more outgoing. Sue from Stratford-on-Avon, 58, took part in dry January last year and said, I now feel comfortable not drinking alcohol. I have more time, I'm more productive, feel healthier mentally and physically, and sleep better too. I enjoy the freedom of being able to go out and simply enjoy the event. Often friends say they are jealous that I've been able to do it, and they think they can, and that they think they should cut down or stop as well. I'm still not thinking too far ahead, and we know that I can't be complacent, but I really don't want to drink alcohol again. My life is so much richer without it. Dry January was launched in 2013. So a couple of things on this. Number 1, yeah, it's great to be healthier. And alcohol, we know alcohol is not good for you. Alcohol is poison. It is. And when I did a lot of the PT stuff, it inhibits fat loss in the sense that if you take in excess calories and you take in alcohol, your body will get rid of the alcohol first. It wants rid of it. It's essentially a toxin, and it will burn it off first and not burn the stored fat calories. So it's things like that. So I kind of know a little bit about it. But essentially, we all know, we've heard about alcohol-related illnesses, and it's not good. So encouraging people to, ditch the alcohol is good, and doing it in January is obviously, it's following the, like I say, the New Year's resolution thing. My issue is this: New Year's resolutions fail, and they fail big style. 80%, again from the fitness thing, 80% of people who sign up for a gym membership in January will have quit by mid-February. They might get 6 weeks in. 80% of them. And I feel this is going to be the same thing. And they say, no, if we can get people on that path at the beginning of the year, it's it will stand them in good stead. I don't think, for me, it's that all or nothing thing. It's going cold turkey, and I don't think that's advisable. I think sort of a drier January, cutting back. And again, because January tends to be, people tend to overspend on everything at Christmas. And January is a 5-week month. So it tends to be, you're meant to be a little lean financially. So it's smart to do it as well, because it's like, oh, you're going to save some money, and you're going to feel better, you're going to sleep better. The sleep better I do agree with. My favourite alcohol, one of them, is red wine. If I have a couple of glasses of red wine, it does interfere with my sleep. So yeah, I can totally agree, you do sleep better. And that's just my experience. But I just think you should encourage people to cut down. You should cut down and still enjoy a drink, because you don't want to demonize it. However, it is clever that it's kind of a get-out clause for people when they're in the pub if they're feeling pressured or in a restaurant. Because if you say I'm cutting down, the argument will be whoever's pushing you will come back and say it's just we'll have less tomorrow or have none tomorrow and all this lot. Where if you say no, it's dry January, I cannot have alcohol and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, so that's probably going to help. Not in all cases, but in some cases. You could also extend that a little bit further. If you're going to be one of these people who does it and you tend to get pressured by mates or family members and all this lot, you could say, I'm doing dry January and everything I would have spent on alcohol or people would have spent on me in alcohol, I'm going to donate to a charity or a food bank or something like this. So it gives that extra layer of protection against these people who are going to push you to have a drink because, you can't have a good time unless you have a drink. You totally can. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be. Hopefully effective, and but I do think for me, I think it's going cold turkey, particularly in January when it's a bit cliche almost. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but if they've got evidence saying it does work, then have at it. Again, it's good to be healthy. Everyone needs to be healthier, so why not? Why not? Moving on, story number 3. This is in the Mirror today. A woman miraculously survives being crushed by a 3-seater sofa thrown from a roof. Yeah, crazy story. Nail technician miraculously survived after a sofa thrown from a roof landed on her. I am not going to give you a surname because it's in the article. I will absolutely murder it, and this woman's been through enough. So her first name is Edita. She's 30. She was knocked out and left trapped under a 3-seater sofa for 40 minutes. She was only discovered after bosses at Nailco Nail Bar in Aberdeen, North East Scotland, were unable to contact her when her lunch break was over. Doctors said she was lucky to survive the horror on December 7th. So Edita's partner, James Ferreira, a barman, said it's been a crazy few days. The doctors have been unbelievably good to her. They say Edita is lucky to be alive, and I am so grateful for the support everyone has given us in the last few days. 2 men have been charged in connection with the incident. Edita, who lives in Aberdeen, needed surgery for multiple broken bones, including a fractured spine, broken thigh, and broken ankle. The nail salon employee is expected to remain in Aberdeen Royal Infirmary for 7 weeks over Christmas. The former chef, originally from Lithuania, went out to Nailco Nail Bar's yard to put some rubbish out and then called 31-year-old Daniel. The horror happened during a phone call when the line went dead. It was horrible for him. But one man who came to her aid said, I heard a wee lass screaming, so I called 999. I had to tell them 3 times that a sofa had fallen on her because they found it so hard to believe. People were bringing her blankets, and we moved the bins from the rear of the yard so the ambulance could get in easily. Staff from Pure Clothes shop next door to Nailco also helped Edita her out. I was off when it happened, but as soon as I found out, I drove from where I was in Cove straight to the hospital. Edita is such a strong person. She's mentally tough and has been saying, now I can get better, Nailco's manager Gemma Ritchie said. She's managed to take a few steps since it happened. That's good. Positive. Her mother passed away a couple of years ago and her dad is in Lithuania. He's going to come and see her in January. Myself and her colleagues have all been to see her in hospital and brought her heaps of goodies. We just want to do anything we can to help. Daniel has been dating Edita for 11 years, added. I've barely been away from hospital since it happened. She had an operation to treat her ankle and another to treat her back. Edita has had pins put into her back and she's been sleeping a lot due to the pain in her shoulder and the impact of the injuries. The medical care she has had has been amazing and she means the world to me. I'm really thankful to everyone who came to help her. Well done, guys. Her recovery is going hard, but I'll be right by her side. Police Scotland spokesman said police in Aberdeen have charged 2 men aged 31 and 26 after a 30-year-old woman was injured by a sofa that was allegedly thrown from a building in the city centre area on December 7th. The woman was taken to the ARI by the Scottish Ambulance Service with serious injuries. A report has been submitted to the Procurator Fiscal. I am really thankful to everyone who came to help her. Her recovery is going to be hard, but I'll be right by her side. Again, her boyfriend reiterated. So, horrible, horrible thing. It doesn't say in the article, it's not clear to me, maybe it's been clarified later on, if this was an intentional thing. If people live in blocks of flats and that, and you've got to get a piece of furniture out and, the lift isn't appropriate and there's loads of stairs, there may be a few people who just hoy it over the balcony without any care and attention for what's below. So it doesn't say if it was just them being lazy and flipping stupid and just threw it off, or if they purposely targeted this woman. They've been arrested, so hopefully the police will establish this. I'd like to think they were just idiots and not malicious, because if they're malicious, that's a whole other level of horrible. If it was just idiots, then, again, it's horrid, but it's accidental horrid as opposed to intentional horrid. But yeah, a three-seater sofa. It does sound like something out of a cartoon, doesn't it? Where, you know, this woman was out there, you know, on a fag break, on a lunch break. She was calling her boyfriend, and then a three-seater sofa hit her. You know, and they've not overplayed it. It's serious back injuries and hip injuries and you know, the ankle. And it's like, this could have been fatal. She could have been killed by this thing. If it's done enough to really damage your back to a point where it needs pins in it. You know, a sofa, if you've ever picked up a three-seater sofa and had to carry it up a flight of stairs, this is a heavy thing. Now, the momentum it's going to build dropping off a block of flats, and it wasn't stories and stories, but it was more than enough. If it hit a square on, it would have killed her. You know, so she's now got Christmas and a New Year and a long recovery. It sounds like Daniel is there for her. They've been together 11 years. He's not about to quit now, so good on him. I wish them both well. As for the people who did it, they've been arrested. Let's hope they are dealt with accordingly. And again, I do hope that it was a stupid accident, because if this was intentional, if they threw it off with the intent of hitting her or hurting her, then that's horrendous, isn't it? Anyway, let's move on. Move on, lighter fare, shall we? So, this is in the Independent via MSN News today. Banksy's photographer reveals why graffiti artist has never been arrested. So I've got a little story to go with this story, which is why I picked it. So Banksy's photographer Steve Lazaridis has revealed why the graffiti artist had never been arrested. Lazaridis worked with Banksy for 11 years, initially documenting the artist at work in 1997 before becoming his agent, strategist and minder. Speaking about how the pair managed to avoid arrest, Lazaridis told the Guardian the secret is high-vis jackets and traffic cones. Nobody ever stops you to have them. However, there was a morning in New York's Meatpacking District when a group of transgender sex workers took exception to Banksy painting a wall. Some of them misconstrued what he was writing as homophobic and called the cops. That was about as close as getting arrested as we got. Lazaridis added that him and Banksy had various excuses to help him get away with spraying walls. Once I gave him a letter saying he had permission from the film producer to paint a wall, said the photographer, and I would be the film producer armed with a burner phone. If I got a call, I was primed to say, sorry mate, I meant for him to do the other side of the street, this kind of thing. Lazaridis' photographs showing Banksy at work have been published in a new book titled Banksy Captured, out now. So yeah, a couple of things here. It's totally plausible. People have got busy lives. They mind their own business for the most part. And, you know, somebody working in a high-vis vest and cones, particularly in the UK, is something you expect to see. It's not out of the ordinary at all. And people assume the best in people, that somebody's just working, you know. So, again, they wouldn't be stopped. They put cones up, they look like they're supposed to be there, and they had these little backup kind of letters and phones and bits and pieces. But like they said, for the most part, just nobody bothered them. So here's the story. Close to where my parents live, my mother used to clean for an older lady, and she went on holiday and came back, and her driveway had been stolen. The whole driveway. Now, the whole driveway was Yorkshire stone. Now, Yorkshire stone, for those of you who don't know, it's just a stone mined in Yorkshire, but it's expensive. And the driveway was gone. It was just soil. She come back off holiday and the driveway's gone. So naturally, she's a little bit confused. So she goes to the neighbour's house, knocks on the door. What's happened to my driveway? The neighbour's like, oh yeah, they were here all week while you were away. You know, they had a van, high-vis vests, and they said that while you were on holiday, you wanted the stone taken up and you wanted you know, brickwork put down. So yeah, they came, and there was a group of them. There was 3 or 4 of them, and they carefully took it all up and put it in a van and drove it away. She even made them cups of tea because it was cold. And again, it's just, you wouldn't think to question it. You wouldn't think somebody would be that brazen and risk getting caught. But again, it's the perfect disguise, because it's just the most normal looking thing. Men at work. So yeah, she had a driveway stolen. And it was a reasonable sized driveway, but Yorkshire stone would be thousands of pounds they nicked. And they got cups of tea while they were doing it. I wonder if she can get charged being an accessory for, you know, hydrating the thieves. I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to it. I don't know if they were caught or whatever became of it. But again, it just kind of tied in nicely to this story, that people will accept things at face value. And if you think you're supposed to be there, if they think you're supposed to be there, or that you being there is not out of the ordinary, people will just say, well, I've got to get to work, I've got to get the kids, and they'll just go on their way. So there you go. Anyway, moving on, story number 5, our last story from the Metro. Bacon shortage leaves pigs without blankets at Wetherspoons. Oh, sacrilege. So, they are cherished staples of a traditional Christmas dinner plate, but some Wetherspoons customers looking to enjoy pigs in blankets during the festive season were left disappointed after being served chipolatas without the bacon casing. The pub chain, whose boss Tim Martin has repeatedly spoken in support of Brexit, I don't know how that relates to anything, said the issue was down to a temporary labour shortage at an unnamed business further up the supply chain, rather than problems with the meat travelling into the UK from Europe. The matter involved a number of pubs and has since been resolved, the company said. Customer Xander Yarni, 21, was among those left disappointed when he ordered a Christmas dinner at the Angel in Basingstoke on December 2nd. He said, I ordered them through the app, and when they got delivered to me, they didn't have the bacon on them. Oh. Matey asked me if I wanted a refund, and I said not to worry about it. Obviously, I was a bit disappointed. I meant, who wouldn't be? But we just kind of found it funny more than anything, so I gave it no stress. Nice. Ate them and went about my day. Wetherspoons spokesman Eddie Gershon said, it's all been resolved. It wasn't across all 900 pubs. It was only for a day or so. There's no shortage of meat. The suppliers in the UK had the bacon, the sausages, but didn't have enough labour to put the blankets on the pigs. It was nothing to do with supply. It was to do with labour. There was a stop in some supplies. They got the sausages in without the blankets. The British Meat Processors Association previously warned that the UK was not attracting enough EU workers, which he said could have a detrimental impact on the supply of fiddly items such as pigs in blankets. Last year, Wetherspoons was temporarily unable to serve some drinks on draft due to the shortage of CO2, while the absence of steak on its steak night menu was put down to precautionary retail product recall due to mislabeling with the supplier. So yeah, the CO2 thing, because of the business I work in, delivering beer and that, we were sort of involved in that, yeah, and there was a worry there was going to be a shortage of CO2. I don't think it actually, I think it was a minor inconvenience. But yeah, pigs in blankets. Cold piggies, no blankets for them. It's a bit of fun, this story. I was quite surprised the fact that they kind of weren't sort of pre-packed, that they ordered them and they had to be assembled, essentially. But I guess when you think about it, no, they've got to be. But I just assumed they'd have a machine to wrap. I didn't think it was all done by hand. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. I don't know. But yeah, so we had blanketless piggies in certain spoons. But again, it's been resolved. It was a brief period of time, but people just thought they'd take the mickey a little bit. So there we go. Anyway, that is it. Wednesday is done with for another week. So that's it, guys. Links to all the stories I've discussed today can be found in the description below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me what's your most disappointing Christmas dinner ever from a food perspective. So not Uncle Jeff got drunk again and fell into the Christmas tree. From a purely food perspective, what's the most disappointing Christmas dinner you've ever had, at home or out? Answers in the comments, please, along with any thoughts you'd like to share. These are mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.